Hey everyone, Mike Wolf here. Welcome to Entrepreneurs Making a Difference, where we interview, entrepreneurs that are out there doing great things and helping other people and giving back and just doing fun. We've had so many great interviews with phenomenal people, and today's interviewee is no exception to that. I've met him many times. And I've been kind of wanting to find out more exactly about what he does. So I'm really excited to have him here. So his name is Ben Gioia, and he's the CEO and founder of a company called Marketing with a Heart. He's a speaker, author, and coach. He believes that marketing, selling, and making money are forms of service. And when they're done with the right intention, and what you're offering will make a difference in people's lives. So he delivers keynote speeches and trainings for entrepreneurs, small businesses, professional associations, and organizations around the country, around the world, and on the web. And he's the author of a book called Marketing with a Heart, How to Create Profits and Success Through Trust-Based Relationships and Adding Value, and then in brackets, not fear manipulation. So Ben weaves his amazing life story into what he teaches, almost dying 5 times. I'm kind of scared to hang out with you, Ben. Almost dying 5 times in 72 hours while traveling in India. Completely changed his outlook on life and crystallized his desire to make a positive impact in the world. So welcome, Ben. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Mike. I'm delighted to be here. I really appreciate you having me on.
Well, I'm glad to have you here because tell me about this almost dying 5 times in 72 hours. Let's hear about that first of all. I can't even go on until I hear about this.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was amazing. So India's one of my favorite places in the world, and if you haven't been, I'd absolutely say get there as soon as you can. Even if I almost died a few times there. Basically, I took a bus up a mountain, and the bus almost didn't make it around the curve, and then, but it did, thankfully somehow. And then I got to where I was staying and went on a trek, like a hike through the mountains with a guide. And through the course of the trek, we had to run from a forest fire that was like consuming the area. And I had no idea what was going on because I'm from New York. So, when somebody tells me to run, I think it's either from bad people or the police.
Yeah.
And the guy tells me 20 minutes later that it was actually a forest fire way back there. Then we stumbled upon a poisonous snake in our trek, and then we stumbled upon a mountain lion of all things, who fortunately was more afraid of us than we were of him. And then the last part was going back down the mountain on a Jeep where the driver gets to the top where he's about to start going down and turns off the engine so he can save gas. 6,000 feet down a mountain, driving one-handed, talking to the guy to his left and changing the cassette tape the whole time because he's never quite happy with the music.
Wow.
So,
yeah. I kind of get concerned when I'm texting and driving, but I've got nothing on that. So
yeah, it was the pinnacle of anything that I've seen. So.
Sounds like quite the adventure, and I do want to, as you know, I do love to travel. I haven't been to India yet, and now I'm kind of thinking maybe I better put that towards later on in my life. So sounds a little scary. But anyway, so tell me, your company is called, it basically refers to Marketing with a Heart. What's the difference between Marketing with a Heart as opposed to the traditional sense of marketing? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I think what many people either know straight off or kind of have come to learn over time without even realizing was that marketing has the traditional marketing has a lot of kind of negative aspects. There's lies and false hope and manipulation and hard closes and playing on people's fear and really just trying to push somebody into making a decision about something. Like, so the classic example of that, of course, is the used car salesman who's just trying to bowl you over to get what he wants. And then the contrast is Marketing with a Heart, what I offer to the world, which is how do you make this opportunity to interact with an individual valuable to them and you yourself, of course, at the front end, just talking to them, and then ideally at the back end when you actually make a sale or provide a service. So, there's education, there's trust, there's giving a lot of value, there's reciprocity. It's basically caring for, the person that you're going to provide a product or service to in the way that you care about yourself, and speaking and treating that person, with the same respect that you would treat your mother, literally.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love that, and I think in this day and age, it's great to hear stuff like that because we always hear about the opposite, of a lot of marketing companies doing the really hard sell on people and putting them into things that aren't really suitable for them, and I really like the sound of that. And I've been influenced quite a bit. I love Brendan Burchard, as you probably know. I probably told you that,
Yep.
and I love his model because he gives away so much information for free, and that just brings attracts people to him. And then if they find that what he's offering is the right fit for them, they can there's ways to use further education, but he's not pushing anything down anybody's throat. And I'm glad to see that not just him, but I see a lot of people kind of heading more that direction now, where they're trying to add a lot of value first, and then there's the opportunity to go further if somebody's interested. But it's not. Uh, I guess I'm also Canadian, and Canadians in general, I think we don't really like that hard sell so much. We're very conservative people. We like to decide in our own mind, hey, this is something I need, and then we'll sign up for it. But we don't like to be pushed. And maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but um, I think a lot of Canadians feel that way. And I have spoken all across the country, and as you know, I do real estate, and I teach other people how to do real estate. And I'm always been a big fan of just giving lots of free information, and then the right people. I don't need to force them into something. The right people that are in my tribe are going to come forward, and I guess you're finding the same thing, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if the fact that just by giving some value at the front end, like you can change somebody's life, in a little way or a big way. I mean, that's a win right there. And then if you develop rapport, or you will develop rapport by doing that kind of stuff, and you will cultivate that trust, and you'll, create that relationship, and then, it's almost like of course I'm going to work with you, or of course I'm going to buy your product or invest in your service. Just it makes it it like family, which is really nice.
Right. Yeah, it's more about building a relationship, and so the people aren't necessarily just buying what you're selling. They're actually buying you because they trust that you're going to take care of them and look out for their best interests, and you've already provided, as I mentioned, and you mentioned, you're providing that value first.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
And I haven't had a chance, unfortunately, to read your book yet. I would have liked to have read it. I haven't had a chance, but
Oh,
what's
that's
the book
okay.
about?
I'm only in manuscript, so
Oh, good. Well, in that case, I don't feel bad.
yes. So you're right on time.
That's good because I know that you did send me some of that, and like I said, I've been really busy doing a lot of interviews, and I've been trying to find out as much about all the people I'm interviewing as possible, and I'm not that good a speed reader, so.
Okay.
But so tell me more about what the book is. Is it more on just what we've been discussing, or is there something else you want to plug about the book and tell us some tidbits?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's a couple of things about the book. First of all, it goes into a little more depth about really really drawing that contrast between the old way of doing marketing and the new way of doing marketing and business. Really just operating from a place of really high integrity, and it's not just how we're doing our business, but it's how we're running our lives. Because as you know, I mean, I've met you several times. I mean, we've more than met. We've hung out. It's what's on the inside that's coming out to how we express our lives, right? So it's how you do one thing is really how you do everything. You can't compartmentalize how you're doing your business versus what's happening at home. So a big component of marketing with a heart is that it's a lot about it's also a philosophy of life. It's about high integrity communication. Really aligning what you do with your values. Respecting people. And then another big part of the book is that in business there's that notion of the bottom line. The traditional bottom line, which is profit. And what I offer to the world is that there's actually a new bottom line, which is people, purpose, and profit. So it's all about people, of course, right? We talked about relationships, cultivating trust, and delivering value at the front end. And then there's purpose. Purpose is, of course, what's my vision, what's my mission, why am I doing what I'm doing? Hopefully that's aligned, or ideally that's aligned with what I'm offering as a service or selling. And then purpose is also how I'm delivering it, strategically. And then the profit part, yes, the profit part. We need to make money, and we can help a lot more people when we make more money. There's nothing that says that that you're a better person because you're in poverty or not doing so well financially. I mean, you, Mike, myself, I think a lot of people we know, we have our missions on this earth, as we describe them for ourselves. And, if we want to really rock our missions, as some people like to say, we need money for that because we can get the word out further, we can help more people, and we can have the lifestyle we want, which gives us the ability to do these things, to travel around, to speak, to meet people, and to even offer some of our products and services in ways that other people, maybe it's not our normal price, but we can offer scholarships. We can offer freebies. I think it really opens up the door to possibility.
Yeah.
And then I do a little bit more in the book and just talk about process, like what's the underlying part of, how this all comes about, living in integrity, keeping a really positive state of mind, and really recognizing that, what we think and say and how we act, creates the imprints, in our subconscious as well as around us for all the things that are going to come back to us. So we really, you have to stay right on top of, like how you're thinking and feeling about everything. And when that negative thought comes up, you give it the nod of acknowledgement and replace it with something more positive.
Exactly, exactly. And you bring up an important point because a lot of entrepreneurs, I think by nature, we're typically very giving people, and we want to share our gifts with the world and help everybody. And at the end of the day, sometimes we're afraid to ask for that sale. We don't want to seem salesy or pushy. And one of the challenges is obviously to sustain your message. And it's just like when you go on an airplane, they tell you put your oxygen mask on first if there was an emergency. And it's not that you're being selfish. It's just you can't possibly help the person next to you if you're not in a good position yourself. And so, something I struggle with too. I'm not really I've never been a very pushy salesperson. So I'm glad that the world is turning this way because I used to have to compete against, especially in the real estate industry. There's a lot of marketing people that are very, very cutthroat. And I love the fact that in the 3 P's that you mentioned, you had people first, then purpose, and then profit, and you put profit at the bottom. And I think that's huge. But once again, having money does give you the freedom to, one, sustain your message, and two, you can keep the gas running so you don't have to go off a mountain. But no, you do have to make what you're doing sustainable so you can help more people have a bigger impact in this world. And at some point, you've got to be able to monetize it. But I think it's important to put people first. I love that aspect of how you put that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, and the people are, you know, they are the source of that monetization. So of course they have to be first.
Well, exactly, and so obviously it comes to adding value to them. And so let me ask you, what are some of the I guess the biggest mistakes that you see people make in their marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of them is creating a product or service without actually going into the market to see if people are interested in it. I mean, people have great ideas, and some of them are great, some of them are not, or some of them are great, some of them are not so great. But if the market is not ready for it, or they don't know how to receive it, or it's not being presented to them in the right way, it's not going to go anywhere. So do your research first. Really find out, if it makes sense to invest in what you're about to invest in. The other thing is trying to market to everybody. Somebody might have an idea or a product or service that said, oh, this could help everybody. And it might be able to indeed help everybody, absolutely. But if you try to speak to everyone through your marketing, you're going to speak to no one. So it's really getting clear on who your market is, who your niche is, and then using their language, and really being able to articulate, what their needs are, what their challenges, their hopes and dreams, and aligning your marketing with what they're saying. And going back, Mike, to what you said before about selling, if you align your marketing language with your audience, they're hearing the conversation that's going on inside their head coming from you, and that really is going to do the heavy lifting of the selling for you right off the bat.
Oh, exactly. That's right. And I agree. It's all about speaking the language of the people in your tribe and your community and the people that you're trying to attract. And I agree. We do see a lot of stuff where people try to, you know, attract everybody, and it just doesn't. It just falls flat because you're not really. There's nobody that's really resonating with it.
Exactly. Yeah, and the other tremendous mistake that people make is not hiring a coach or getting into some kind of mentor or masterminding. Really getting guidance from somebody who has walked the path before and made the mistakes and taken the hits and figured out the way to do it. Because you hear about the 80-20 rule. Does that resonate with you?
Of course, yeah.
And I think the 80-20 rule applies to learning as well, right? You can, eliminate so much, clutter and time and energy and cost, actual money cost, by getting the right kind of coaching or mentoring. So I recommend that strongly for everyone.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that, and that's one of the things I wish I would have done earlier on is started to mastermind and find somebody who had already been down, made the mistakes for me, so I didn't have to make them. But that is huge and very true. And I know you're a big fan of education because that's where we keep seeing each other is at various educational events, and you never really stop learning. And if you're an entrepreneur, it's important to be a lifelong learner. Is really what you need to be.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So who are some of your big influences? I find with most entrepreneurs, there's always, something that was either a book or an incident or a chance meeting. There's always somebody that inspires and causes us to do what we do, and it just kind of lights us up, and then all of a sudden we get on this path. Who are your big influences?
So there's more than I could name technically, because I think at different points in our lives we meet the people or get the information that we need. One of the big ones for me was Malcolm X, when he went to Mecca and saw black people and white people and people of all different races together, and it changed his entire perspective on race relations. And he came back and was a different person. The ability to transform and to allow yourself to be transformed. Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela is huge. Being imprisoned for 27 years, coming out, maintaining an open heart about that, and then becoming president of South Africa. Like, wow.
Amazing. Exactly. It's amazing.
Amazing. And you also mentioned books. There's a book I actually have it right here, by Jeff Olson called The Slight Edge.
I've heard of that. I haven't read that one yet either.
Absolutely amazing. Really, really pivotal for me. Just basically the idea of, the little things that you do every single day, they don't seem so significant, but they compound. They have a big effect over time. So, a donut a day, maybe not a big deal, but after a year, you're going to see it. And conversely, exercising for 20 minutes a day, maybe you don't see it day to day, but after a year, your body's a lot more happy.
That makes so much sense. I think, I don't know if you've read the Compound Effect by Darren Hardy of Success Magazine.
That's on my list for soon.
Yeah, it has a similar message, and it's just about being consistent and just doing the same, just making consistent changes instead of, saying I'm going to go to the gym, every day for 3 hours, and then you do it for 2 days and then you stop. Just do it consistently every day, small increments. So sounds like a great message. That's great. Any other big influences? That's actually some pretty amazing people you mentioned there.
Yeah. My one of my coaches right now, his name is Dalo. He's a business and marketing coach. Really, really influential on my career for many years now. I mean, he connected me to James Malinchak and to Ken MacArthur, and he really helped me flesh out the idea of marketing with a heart. And he was the person who said to me at one point when I was doing consulting work, he said, well, are you doing consulting work at the expense of not doing your own dream, not following your passion? And I kind of went, oh, yeah, you're right. So he was one of the big influences in me taking the leap to really, do marketing with a heart and do it up the right way.
Great, great. So, as you know, this show is called Entrepreneurs Making a Difference. And so, what are some of the things that you're either currently doing or you want to do to make a difference, or I guess what lights you up? It doesn't necessarily have to be anything to do with marketing, but what lights you up and gets you excited to wake up every morning?
Yeah, yeah. So there's been a couple things. I just recently, I'm not doing it anymore. Just kind of geographic reasons. I was a hospice volunteer for a few years. That was amazing. Really,
That
really
must have been very
transformative
eye-opening.
stuff.
Very eye.
Yeah, unbelievable. I recommend it to everyone. um, and a couple other things I do. I'm a meditator. So and I actually live pretty close to the meditation center in my lineage of practice. So I do a lot of volunteer work for them. The whole organization is volunteer, so I pitch in a bunch there. Yeah, I mean they've given that practice has given a bunch to me, so I like to be able to facilitate it for other people. Um, yeah, I just I dig helping people. I mean I love coaching. Whether it's for marketing or just helping people kind of work their way through something. Because I mean, for all of us, this is why you have a coach, I have a coach. It's like we can't see these things that are so clear from the outside because we're looking
Exactly.
from here. Yeah, so I enjoy coaching a lot. Um, yeah, and just being of service, kind of however the opportunities arise, pardon me, whether it's formally or just kind of off the cuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great, and I feel the same way. I love to. I just find that giving back it makes you feel better than when you do something for yourself. If you help somebody else, it actually feels better, and that's what I learned kind of later on in life. Earlier on, I was all about the toys, and
Mhm.
and I don't know if you had the same thing. And then after a while, it's like, hey, this is boring. Having material things aren't really, they get you excited for a short period of time, and then that's it. And then you need a bigger and better toy to replace the last one. Did you find the same experience?
Yeah, for me, it wasn't so much toys; it was more like parties. You
Oh,
know,
okay.
like dance parties around the world, and I lived in New York. I grew up in New York, and was went kind of in the club scene for a long time, and it was fabulous, and opened my eyes and opened my heart to a great many things. I wouldn't change the experience, but it's the same kind of thing. You're looking for something bigger and a bigger experience, and that's not where it's at after a while. I mean, I think there's a time and the place for that, and ideally that you get through that experience, without falling too far down a hole, which some people unfortunately do. Um, but yeah, it's I think just really coming into the place where um, we're just waking up every day and knowing that you're alive is huge. Like that's a great start.
That
And
is
then
a good start to every day.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then walking out the door and hearing the birds and hanging out with the cat and all of that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah. No. Very cool. Very cool. So Ben, if you could start over, what would you change? Were there any major mistakes that you made something major that you would have done differently if you knew then what you know now?
yeah, yeah. What I mentioned before, I would have started
I'd stay away
coaching.
from India if I were you, but
Yeah, right. No, I actually can't wait to go back. No, I would have, as I mentioned before, just would have started coaching with someone earlier, rather than trying to do things myself. I was raised uh, I was very academic in school, got really good grades, honors, all the whole shebang, and that was great for many reasons, but it was a very individual path. You're studying for yourself to get into, whatever the next thing is. And I think that I really took that with me. And that kept me from asking for help a la coaching for a long time. So that was one of them. Another thing was, excuse me, when I initially moved away from the corporate world, I guess technically the nonprofit world at that point, and started doing consulting on my own, I didn't have enough financial resources in the bank to make the leap as comfortably as I would have liked to. So I think there's of course a balance between, you know, your safety net and the leap of faith, because sometimes you have to take risks for great rewards. Um, I just wish I had a little bit more money back when I did that, because
Right.
it would have made the transition a little bit smoother and less, you know, less anxiety prone, or ridden, for me. Just would have made it a little smoother, and then I could have, done things like invested in coaching, and had more time to, really, I would say methodically work my way into, the next phase of business at that time for me.
Right. So let me ask you though, and because I'm thinking about myself and some of the struggles I had to get where I am, some of the bumps in the road, and now that I've overcome a lot of that, I look back, and I'm just wondering if you have the same experience. I look back and think, you know what, even though it was kind of a little bit bumpy and rocky, uh, the journey was fun anyway. Even sometimes the unknown is actually kind of fun. Did you find the same thing, or were you kind of stressed out? I mean, when you look back now.
Yeah, no, now actually, and I talk about this in my book as well. I recognize that every single step of the journey was vitally important, to get me to the next step and to keep, helping me really cultivate who I am. That there was not a single moment that, really shouldn't have happened, or, it shouldn't have been in any other way. I mean, I say, of course, maybe if I had more money back then, or, I could have taken a little of the stress away, but in the big picture, like, that's really, really not the issue. I I believe very much in, you know the path to the goal is as important as the goal. Um, for the satisfaction, for what we're learning, for the joy, and to really realize that, the life is happening, all the time, and we're being successful every step of the way. As long as we're doing our best and taking steps and forgiving ourselves for the mistakes that we make, and not ever succumbing to failure, which I just basically call giving up.
Exactly, and I agree with that 100%. I think actually, for me anyway, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs, the journey is actually more important than the goal because, well, first of all, everything's evolving, so you never necessarily always actually reach a goal. Sometimes you just kind of just it's just evolving, and it never becomes that perfect thing that you expected. But not only that, I find a lot of entrepreneurs, we set really lofty goals for ourselves that we think we'll never be able to achieve, and we finally get there after years and years and years. And
Mhm.
we tend to celebrate for very short periods of time. Like we're happy for 10 seconds, like, okay, new goal, and then we're just continuing our journey to the next goal. And so, do you find that a similar experience?
I do. We talked a little bit about my book and completing the manuscript. And I mean, I've wanted to write a book since I was probably 12 years old. I didn't realize it would be a nonfiction book, but nonetheless, that seed and that desire was always there. And I finally finished the manuscript, and there was not, this fanfare and this delight and everything else. It was it was like a big release. It's like, okay, I've done it, and I don't have to carry, this I don't know, kind of like this craving anymore. Like I've done that, and it's like, okay, now what? Now that I've done it, what do I do with it? To take it further, to help my business and to help more people and to help other people with their businesses.
Sequel, you got to do the sequel now.
Right.
There you go. So time flies. I mean, I'd love to talk to you some more. We're going to definitely get you on here again. But if you had one message to put out to the universe and the world and our listeners, what would that one message be?
um, just that what you think, really creates your reality. Whether you come from a spiritual place or a quantum physics place, really that your thoughts become things. So, as much as possible, maintain a positive, generous, abundant, loving, caring, prosperous state of mind, and know that you can really, do anything you want because the universe is completely on your side. Or if you want to call it God or life or whatever, it's all here. It's all here for us, and we just have to trust that it's here for us, and then take action to make it happen.
Well said. Well said. Thank you very much.
My
And
pleasure.
if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
I would love for people to visit marketingwithaheart.com, and all my stuff is on there. I have a manifesto on there, which basically talks about what I'm all about. It's kind of like a mini version of the book, so to speak. So, I would love your audience to go check that out. Yeah, and just feel free to make an appointment with me. There's a lot of ways to get in touch with me on the website. And yeah, Mike, I totally welcome anyone in your audience, because I know you bring good people.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We both bring good people.
Yeah,
So, well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here. And like I said, I definitely want to have you on again.
thank you.
I definitely have some more questions I'm going to ask you.
Okay,
And yeah, just thanks so much.
okay, my pleasure, Mike. Take care of yourself.
Great. Thanks a lot, Ben. And thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Entrepreneurs Making a Difference.